It's day 3 on Springwatch, and already we've had action, intrigue and beauty.
And breaking news. Beneath the shimmering surface of our swallow, something is stirring.
And I'm looking for tiny creatures in this muck.
Wet wipes at the ready then. Oh yes, it's time for Springwatch.
Hello and welcome to Springwatch 2017. It's day 3 from the wonderful Sherborne Park estate here in Gloucestershire, run by the National Trust. 4,000 acres of fantastic farmland packed with wildlife. Day 3, Michaela, what do you think the previous 2? It's been going all right, hasn't it, actually?
Oh, I think so. I mean, we've had live barn owls, kestrels, red kites, peregrines,
Kites have been great.
bullfinch, jays. I could go on and on.
But what about today?
Well, it's all been kicking off today. Let me tell you.
It's been kicking off today.
Really
You start.
There has been breaking news, literally. So let's start with our swallows. Let's have a look at our swallow live. As Chris said, she is a shimmering beauty, and underneath that beauty, she hides a secret. You've got a sneaky peek there. She is, in fact, sitting on chicks, and they hatched today. Let's have a look. This was this morning when a lot of you were having your breakfast at 9 minutes past 8. She's a bit fidgety, and you can see why as she lifts up. There's the first chick hatching. She's looking down and she grabs that broken eggshell and drops it. Now, she should actually fly off with it or even swallow it, so that was a bit of an oops. Settles down again. The other adult comes back, celebrating the new birth of her little chick. Then almost an hour later, at 9:15, she gets fidgety again, and that's because the second chick is breaking out of the egg. Now just think about how small these chicks are. They're absolutely tiny. They're about the size of a jelly bean or a little kidney bean. This time she gets that eggshell and does what she's supposed to do. She flies off with it. Look at the way she flies. She just sort of topples out the nest and out the window. Back they both come, and they start to try and feed those brand new chicks. Not an easy job when they're that small and that little. Settles down again, starts to brood, and at 2:55, gets a bit fidgety, same reason. The third egg is hatching, and you can just about see that if you look into the middle of that nest cup. I'm not sure the swallow realises what's going on. So it's far more interested in preening itself than looking at the chick. But that's brilliant news, breaking news. We had 4 eggs, that's what she was sitting on. Now we've got 3 chicks. Interesting enough, there's 1 egg left. What do you reckon the chances are?
Well, 50-50, I think. If you'd have asked me this morning, I would say there was a good chance of it hatching. But it's been there all day. If it's not hatched by tomorrow morning, I think we're with those 3 chicks, which is nice.
It's getting late, isn't it?
When I got into birds, I was never into swallows. I didn't used to rate them.
Really?
No, honestly, it's weird, isn't it?
beautiful.
I was into sort of really much more obvious birds. But now they're lovely shape, they're beautiful colours. And when the way it falls off that nest and then just swoops through the window so effortlessly.
It's an acrobatic
Wouldn't
genius.
you love to? Wouldn't you love to do that? On last night's show, I'll be honest with you, we got a bit pushed for time. We were going to introduce you to another nest, but we ran out of time and we couldn't do it. But let's go live to it now, because we'd still like to show it to you. Here it is. It's down on the ground, actually. As you can see, there's not a lot of activity there, and that's for the very simple reason that they fledged today. It's the nest of a chiff-chaff. This little warbler nests on the ground like many bird species. It's down there, hidden amongst the nettles in the wood, quite close to the blue tits. The chicks are in the nest for about 12 to 14 days, and we've been watching them for the last few days, very busy at the nest. You can see the adult here bringing in a mouthful of caterpillars. They bring all sorts of things in, beetles, flies, a very broad range of invertebrates that they feed those chicks. Initially, we thought there were 4. We could see 4 heads sticking out of the nest. It's a bit like a wren's nest on the ground, a little domed nest. But at 2:54 today, they started to leave. They've been in and out, so this is proper fledging. This is how they leave. They can't fly yet, but they can hop out of the nest and scramble through the foliage. And you might wonder why they'd want to do that if they couldn't fly. It's quite simple, really. You don't want all of your chicks in one basket. The sooner you can get them out, the better the chance that some of them will survive if a predator finds the nest. Something like, well, we've seen adders going into nests like this, and stoats and yellow-necked mice are down in the woods there. We found those earlier in the week. But over a period of time this afternoon, all 5 of these chicks have hopped out. What lays in store for them? Well, the adults will continue to feed them for the next couple of weeks until they can fly themselves. Then they'll start foraging, of course. Those adults will immediately start to build another nest and start another brood, somewhere between 6 and 8 eggs down there in the same patch of woodland, I've no doubt. And then at the end of September, they'll all be heading off to the Mediterranean or even parts of North Africa, and hopefully at least some of those chicks will find their way back here next March.
I'm rather chuffed for those chiff-chaff chicks.
Yeah, nice to see them leaving. We only caught the tail end of it, though.
So they've left, and yesterday we saw the jays leave. Well, they fledged, but one actually fell out the nest, 3 fledged, and we promised you we'd let you know how they're doing today. Well, I'm pleased to say that all 4 of them are doing pretty well. We've spotted all 4 branching out away from their nest, and they're all looking pretty good. They're all calling. The adults, we've seen them come back and feed them. So fingers crossed, they should be doing pretty well. So, the chiff-chaffs have fledged and left us, the jays have left us, and Martin is also leaving us.
I thought he'd never fledged, to be quite honest with you.
Martin's
He's been
fledged.
Semi-fledging for ages.
He's fledged, hasn't he? But don't panic, because he's not left us forever. He's just gone on a road trip, so he's on the road today, and he'll bring us a live report from Wales tomorrow.
Now, on Springwatch, we like to aim high when it comes to trying to find the wildlife that lives in this environment. I mean, after all, it's not all accessible. Some of it's quite shy, or it can be quite rare. And one creature that we'd like to capture here is the otter. Just beyond the ridge here, down in the dip, is Sherborne Brook. And we've got some cameras out there where we hope to find these animals. Let's go live to one of them now. This one is down on the weir, and you can see that brook down there. There's a heron there. Oh yes, look, heron on the right-hand side of the bank, patiently waiting to find a fish. Plenty of fish in here, which is why the otters are about. Look, in the background on the left-hand side, you can see the boathouse. I'm going to talk about that in a moment, but let's go underwater now. We've got another camera under the water, and look, there's a trout. It's a great view of a brown trout. And that, of course, is otter food. And what we're hoping is that we've put that camera in exactly the right spot for an otter to come up. No sign on those cameras yet, but remember the boathouse? Well, we've got cameras inside there. Let's go live to that one now. And if you look very carefully in the foreground, on those planks, you can see some otter spraint. The otters are definitely in here. They've been marking their territory, pooing in this spot, but as yet, no otters. Why is that? Well, probably because there are not too many of them here. It might well be that this is only part of one animal's range, and they would be moving up and down that brook, visiting occasionally. Obviously, we're manning our cameras 24 hours a day, throughout the night as well, and if one turns up, hopefully we'll catch a view of it. What about other mustelids, though? Well, we've got plenty of stoats. We've seen those yesterday, and of course, we've got badgers here as well. And we've got cameras on no less than 2 sets. What is that? It's a Hercules, if you're interested. If you're interested in aircraft, that sound is a Hercules. And we've got cameras on a couple of sets out there, and we've been getting some activity. Look at this one. Here are some cubs frolicking around. Lovely to see them at this time of year. Very confident, hopping around. Can't resist a bit of playing. More in the background there. There were actually 4 cubs in this set, and you can see the sow, the dominant female there, who's given birth to them, standing sentry in the background. We've been counting the badgers on our cameras, and we know that we've got 3 adults in that set and 4 cubs, that's 7. In the other set, we've got another 5 animals. We probably haven't seen all of them as yet. But obviously, these animals play quite a prominent role in the ecosystem here, and what we really want to understand is how they're using this landscape, where they're foraging, where they're moving to throughout the course of the year. And the only way to really do that is to mark them. And the best way to mark them is using a satellite radio collar. And so I went out with Dawn Scott to put one on.
Sherborne Park Estate is home to a number of different badger sets, and we want to find out how these animals are using the landscape. To help me achieve this, I've enlisted the help of mammal ecologist Dr. Dawn Scott from the University of Brighton.
Lots of bedding here, Dawn.
Yeah, so this is fresh excavation, and the bedding is this straw that's inside, so that's previous bedding that's been inside a chamber. They've cleared that out and brought fresh stuff in.
Yeah.
So this is a very active set. There's badgers below ground.
Right beneath our feet, probably.
Chris, look up there.
Yeah.
Another big mound up there.
Yeah. More fresh digging, Dawn.
Yeah, look at that there. Look at those claws.
Oh, yes. Very clear, isn't it? Nice and smooth, no leaves down there. All the leaves are being swept out constantly, which shows that it's very definitely in constant use.
And see that? That is a perfect badger print.
Yes. Yeah.
We've got the 3 at the back
Yeah.
and the toes at the front.
Dawn, not that it's a precise guide to any population, but if we count the holes, we might get an idea. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus those when we came in.
Yeah, and there's some going into the field as well.
Yeah, so what do you think, of 12 to 14 at least?
I think more than that. I think this is a main set. The number of holes suggests this is a main set with quite an active social group.
Yeah.
So I'm talking maybe up to 6, 8 animals. I think this is a really good place to try and see if we can catch an individual and follow that territory and see where it's going.
Indeed, it would be fantastic, wouldn't it, really?
So, plenty of badgers living in this woodland patch. In order to understand more about where these animals are roaming, we want to put satellite collars on 4 badgers. And to that end, we've strategically placed humane cages in various habitats around the estate. At dusk, Dawn and I bait and then set the traps. We have no luck catching during the night, but the following morning, I get a call from Dawn. By the time I get there, the animal is already sedated.
Oh, you've got one then.
I've got one, yeah. Just checking she's okay.
It's a she, is it?
Yeah, so it's quite an old adult female. Just checking body condition to see if she's suitable.
Yeah.
So we check both eyes, check she's okay, both eyes are clear. Teeth are quite worn, you can see the age really worn down. Yeah, but no injuries, damage to the mouth, so it's okay. Then we just check all over her, check she's all right. Get those eyes covered. Right, okay. So we're going to get the collar fitted.
At least Mads.
or corn and mature, she might have gone into that actually, because badgers will roll on that corn and then nibble the ears. Currently she's occupying an area of about 24.6 hectares, which isn't very much when you think about it, so she's obviously finding enough food here. And
GPS, but it will also tell us about the altitude and the body temperature. And it means that we can follow that chick, hopefully.
starts to breed herself.
Particularly.
calling we can hear, that's your recording.
Yep, that's it.
But there's another bird.
That's it.
There's another bird. There's another bird calling.
Just a bit further away from that tape.
So that's coming into your calling.
That's it, yeah, it's responding to it.
Yeah.
That's another male as well.
Oh, you can tell that.
That's it, yeah, the whoo.
Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah. It's amazing to stand here and just hear those eerie calls.
for birds to get at them. It's amazing to touch and to feel, and it's so effective.
A magnificent sight.
It was pretty
That was
amazing.
extraordinary, actually, wasn't it?
Even I was surprised, actually, when I got there.
Has met lots of people that have really fascinating objects that connect them to wildlife. Her own object may seem like it's an obvious thing, but actually it has real sentimental value.
is an exhausting business.